How do we turn these things on?
They don't, it's just for recording on the, it doesn't amplify, it just goes right in.
Oh, okay. All right, well, let's get started. Thanks everybody for coming. Standing room only here. It's our first neighborhood meeting in the Gold Dust Community Room, and it's a pretty neat space. So before we get started, we do have not enough seats. So if there's some younger folks that might want to give up their seats for some distinguished folks, that would be great so they can have a seat. Thanks. So I'll first do a brief agenda review and then we can get started. So first we'll do a welcome. Actually, I won't do an agenda review. I'll just go in to everything. We have bathrooms located right over there. There's 2 bathrooms and they're both accessible. Exits there and there. Looks like we don't have any children, but if you did, there would be childcare. Oh, okay. So Betsy has some cards, and if you wanted to ask a question of one of the candidates, you can write them on a card, and then raise your hand, and they will be picked up. And Arlene Braun from the League of Women Voters will be going over the questions, and she might change a few words, so the question that you hear might not be exactly what you wrote, but she will change it for you. So, introductions. I guess I should do that. My name's Meredith Prince, and I'm on the leadership team of the Northside and Westside Federated Neighborhood Council. Could the other leadership team people please raise your hand? Okay. We also have Don Nicholson, our Ward 2 representative, and we have our candidates, John Hendrickson and John Couch, who have agreed to come today and answer some questions for us. Is Jason Deal here yet? No, Jason Deal, who's assistant to the fire chief, will be here a little bit later on to talk about the bond issue, the fire station bond issue that's coming up on the ballot. I don't think I missed any other VIPs. We're all important, but yeah, Sarah? Oh, I'm sorry. So today we are going to have a candidate forum for the city council candidates. Unfortunately, the mayoral candidates have another engagement. They double booked themselves, so we will have more time to hear from the city council candidates. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters who have helped us to coordinate this event. Gladys Harden will be moderating today, and Arlene Braun will be screening the questions. So thank you very much to you. And I think I will turn it over to Gladys.
Thank you, Meredith. Let's just do a couple of little housekeeping things first. We're sitting close together, and Don, you'll have to move over here closer to me. I won't bite. Just so that the TV camera can get us all in. It makes us look like we're a long ways away, even if we aren't. You each have a microphone. Just hold it sort of steady unless you're going to talk, and then hold it about where I'm holding mine. Is that good? And when you're finished speaking, just kind of lay down. If you fiddle with it too much, our technician over there will be going nuts trying to get everything smooth. I'm going to ask some questions. I will ask first. I can't just ask Don first because that won't work, but I'll ask Don Hendrickson the first question first, Don Couch the second question first, so you each get a chance to go first. We're not going to time you this time because we have a fair bit of time. But if you get to rambling on, I probably will just pat you on the shoulder and say, your time's up. So try to make your comments succinct and to the point, and we'll have plenty of time to answer the questions that we prepared for you and also questions from the audience. There are small cards over on the table, or we can pass them out if you want one. And if you have a question of your own that you would like to ask the council candidates, please write it down and hold it up, and Arlene Braun will pick them up and coordinate them so that I'm not asking 5 questions that are on the same subject. And then we'll have questions from the audience. Are we all clear? Okay. The very first question, and I am going to ask this question of Don Hendrickson first. What skills or qualities would you bring to the city council, and what specific objectives do you hope to achieve there?
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Well, first of all, I've lived in the ward for 15 years. I've been active in Grand Creek Valley issues, both in the forefront and in the background. I'm self-employed, so business-wise, I think I have a good head on my shoulders for business, for analyzing. I like facts. I like when presented a problem, I like to have it backed up with facts. As far as issues, what was this again?
Specific objectives.
Okay, objectives. There are, in walking the ward, I find that infill, traffic, and the Safeway St. Pat's issue are probably the three main things that confront our ward. I am anti-infill, except where, let me back up. I'm anti-infill where in old established neighborhoods. I am pro-active as far as what the Intermountain site is going to bring. I feel that when people move into a neighborhood, they should have a reasonable expectation as to what to expect and how the neighborhood's going to be. I'm anti-Broadway diet. I think there's a better solution to that. I think I liken traffic to water. It will follow the path of least resistance. In other words, when traffic gets backed up, the excess traffic will be going down, Toole, Cooper, Sherwood, Phillips. Now, my opponent, Mr. Couch, will say, well, that's the only avenue that the state gave us. On the other hand, I say there's probably nobody in administration, the current city administration, who is an advocate for an alternative plan. And Safeway St. Pat's, I am pro-Safeway, pro-St. Pat's project. I think it's very important to the members of the community, not only in Ward 2, but throughout the city. Safeway is one of the anchor stores in our downtown. For the people in Northside, Westside, it's a place where they get their prescriptions and they shop. And if the new Safeway is able to be built, it will also bring you a gas station with discount gas. Right now, there's no neighborhood gas station. Goofy's closed recently. But there again, Mr. Couch is going to say he's not anti-Safeway or St. Pat's, he's pro.
Excuse me, let Mr. Couch speak for himself.
Okay.
You just speak for yourself.
But my question to you is that if Safeway closes, like Tidyman's did, where will everybody shop? Okay? Also, the only reason Safeway is, profitable today is because over the last few years, they, through attrition, they've went from 100 to down to 60 employees, and that's how they remain profitable. They have a 5-year trend of profits going down. I couldn't tell you if it's going to be 2 years, 3 years, or 6 months, but in my conversations with the Safeway people, they have told me that when they become unprofitable, they will close. So, those are my three main issues.
Excuse me, can we remind the candidates that the microphones do not make their voices louder for the TV?
Okay. Yes, that's right. The microphones pick up for the live broadcast of the TV. So if you speak loud, just hold them down here. They'll pick up your voice, and then speak loudly enough so everybody can hear.
Did you say live broadcast? No, it's being taped, right?
No, taped
Okay.
broadcast. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something different? Mr. Couch, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
What skills or qualities will you bring to the city council, and what specific objectives do you hope to achieve?
Folks, I've lived in the neighborhood for some time now, neighborhood meaning on the west side, around the corner from the Toole Street Market, or what was the Toole Street Market, now the 316 offices. Right on the corner of Sherwood and Waverly, just down the block from Lowell School. This neighborhood has meant a lot to me and my wife, Denise, since we've been here. Actually, we were active in the neighborhood in this ward before we even lived here. When we were living in Frenchtown, we drove in to work and help on the Project Playground there at Lowell School. They've been very active in the ward even after we moved here. Right away got interested in the neighborhood councils, the neighborhood associations. I've been active in that ever since. The skills that I bring to this, that I would like to bring to this position are just that. My ability to serve on boards, to enter in conversations, to try to identify what the problem is, what the objective is, what is it that we want to do, and how to get there. Those are the things that I've worked on since I've been in this neighborhood, serving on different boards like the North Missoula Community Development Corporation, the NMCDC, which I know a lot of you are familiar with. I'm vice president of that board currently, and the different projects that we work on in the neighborhood for the Northside and Westside. I also served on the 3rd and Russell Street reconstruction project, the Citizens Advisory Board for that. Interested in transportation right from the get-go, even before I moved into the board. I don't have an agenda. I'm not coming up to this election saying I'm going to stop this or I'm going to do that, other than I'm hoping to bring a better sense of what I call colloquy or communication, or just it's something to the city council that I think has been lacking in the last few years. I mentioned something about a problem and trying to get a solution to that problem and getting that problem taken care of. And that's really what I haven't seen going on with the city council right now. A good portion of that would be what John Hendrickson mentioned, is the Broadway road diet. I've mentioned this before. It's unfortunate that they called it a road diet. Americans have trouble with that problem. But the fact is, early on, in the early 90s, we knew that there was a problem with that road. It was the road system, and it was a pedestrian safety problem. We asked repeatedly, are we going to do something about this? 92, I think, the first article in the paper came out saying a person was sitting in a wheelchair. We need to do something. A stoplight. Everybody thought, yes, let's do a stoplight. How many times does the state have to tell us that they're not going to put a stoplight on that state road before we say, okay, what are we going to do now? The state says, look, we're going to do a lane reconfiguration. That's what we propose. That's what we're going to do. And we say, the state, that that's going to help us. That is going to alleviate the pedestrian hazards that we have on that road. I say, if we can't get a stoplight, if the state's going to put in the lane reconfiguration, then that's what we should do, because the important thing, the goal, was pedestrian safety. It's on the ground right now. How many have driven it? How many say it's a terrible mess? Okay, you have your reasons. Let's talk about that later on. But the thing is, what did we try to do? What was the goal? Pedestrian safety. How many times do we say, no, we're not going to do lights, and we're going to keep going with that before we do something? That's what I'm talking about as far as the road diet goes, or the Broadway lane reconfiguration. Yeah, I'm for it. If it turns out that it doesn't work, that it's traffic congestion, that we're hurting the economics downtown, that's an easier situation to deal with than the 5 fatalities that we've had from doing nothing on the road. Okay? As I mentioned, I'm not going to this position hoping to take care of something, to do some agendas or anything like that. I know we're going to talk more about the Safeway in St. Pat's issue, the Safeway, the Broadway Scott rezoning area like that. I don't know if you want me to just go off on that right now, or if...
No, we want to ask some more questions. So.
I'm sure there's going to be more questions on that, so I know that I'll have my opportunity to talk about my position on that. So I think that'll help me there.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Now, question number 2, and you get to go with this
Okay.
one first. Given the broad diversity of communities, neighborhoods in this area, in Ward 2, how will you go about representing all the neighborhoods in Ward 2?
I have to admit I have, home field advantage here. I know a lot about what's going on in Ward to Northside, Westside, River Road area right now. I will admit that I haven't spent a lot of time up on Grant Creek and that area up there, but I will say that, you know, in my history, I have shown some skills that I think the Grant Creek people have an appreciation for. One is, in walking up on top of Grant Creek, they ask me, and they say, a bike path in there. We want a bike path. We want some way to get bikes up and down our road safely. Well, I'm familiar with that. When I lived in Frenchtown, in fact, I still am president of the A.J. Memorial Bike Path. That's that bike path that went down across the, actually it's going from Mill Creek to Huson in there. I was very active with that. I know exactly what I want to do. We got some excellent grants to build that bike path, and you can see it's on the ground. I can do that for Grant Creek too. Down in our neighborhoods, down here, Northside, Westside, River Road, let's just go Northside, Westside right now. I know what's happening in our neighborhoods here. I know exactly what's going on in issues right here from this building and across the tracks and down Toole Street. I know that many people in this area that live here are very concerned about the population of folks that come here. Some think they're attracted by the 316 mission, maybe others not, the Poverello. We have a real problem with not just the perceived, but a real issues with public safety and health, the bridge crossing over here. I know all about that. I live around the corner from that. You know, that is something, when people come to me and they say we have a problem, I'm going to say yes we do, and we know we have to sit down and try to work on that. So this area here, I'm very familiar with that. Housing, affordable housing. I've been on, like I mentioned, the board of the NMCDC. We talk about what we work on there as far as the land trusts go. Many of you know excellent projects like this, not exactly a land trust, but excellent projects like the Gold Dust here, the Whittier Court project, the project that's going on across Broadway, on Cedar Street, all NMCDC projects that we're very proud of. I know I've got a really good feel about this neighborhood here. Across the River Road area, we're also talking about infrastructure. Those folks over there are really proud of their infrastructure plan, and I am too. That thing is, I think they were right on with that, and they're very proud of it, and they've used it, they know it works, and so I know I'll get a chance to talk more about planning and that whole public process there. So I think I've tried to point out the different areas of our ward, and I know there's a variety and a lot of different folks and a lot of different income levels and situations, but I do feel that I have a grasp on that. Thank you.
Mr. Hendrickson, given the diversity of the ward, how will you be able to represent all of the neighborhoods included in Ward 2?
Well, first of all, let me say, well, diversity is good, and Ward 2 is unlike any other ward in the city. It does take in Grant Creek, Northside, Westside, behind Home Depot, Phantom Hills Golf Course, and everything new along Flynn Lane, Pleasant Views Phase 3. Everybody has a common goal and wants to see Missoula be a good place to live. I am a listener. Okay, like as John is more attuned to what's going on in the north side, west side, I am probably more attuned to what's going on in Grant Creek, Long Flynn Lane, Pleasant View, Phantom Hills, and south of the river. Although I am not totally ignorant as what's going on here in the north side, west side. You know, issues that plague north side, west side also plagues the rest of the community. And some of them have been brought up here already. When elected, I would like to have communications with the homeowners associations, the neighborhood councils, to find out what your problems are, be able to discuss them, bring them to committee, to council, and, you know, and not just shove them aside. That's it.
Mr. Hendrickson, you get this question first. What is your vision for the cleanup and development of the old White Pine and Sash property?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
What would be your vision for the cleanup and development of the old White Pine Sash property?
Well, I'm all for, you know, obviously to be cleaned up. And as far as the vision goes, that'd be another, you know, an ideal place for infill. a planned community of like what's going happen at the old Intermountain facility. It'd be for mixed income use, mixed residential, maybe small business. I think it'd be an ideal place for that.
Thank you. Would you like the question repeated, Mr. Couch?
No, I think I had one. Actually, I was extremely disappointed when that whole project fell through on White Pine Sash. I had actually gone to Charette's and worked with, not worked with, but participated in the visioning of that whole project with the folks that wanted to work it. The architect involved, all of that, it just looked beautiful on the ground. I was very disappointed in the fact that we did not go through with that. I say that project needs to be cleaned up to residential standards, not just some commercial cap on top of that thing, because if we do that, we're not going to get any housing in there. If we cap it off and just say, okay, it's just commercial, that's not good enough. That's just kind of putting it off. We're not going to deal with it now. We're going to let some other generation deal with that, kind of like our Clark Fork River cleanup. I think we need to do it now. I think we need to have residential cleanup to that area, to those standards, so we can build houses on it, so people can plant tomato plants in it and everything else. Just leaving it there is not good. Every time that wind blows and I see dust blowing around and out through our neighborhood, that worries me. It worries me a lot. And I was really disappointed in the health department and others that we didn't really force our hand on that one. I think we should have cleaned it up, and I think we will, really.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. This next question you're going to get first. How do you see the City Council working with neighborhood councils and the community forum to do the best governance possible in the city of Missoula?
Thank you. As I mentioned when I introduced myself, I've been active in the neighborhood council as a representative on the west side now for a number of years, and also as a representative of the west side to the community forum. And I've seen the neighborhood council system really evolve. When I first get on there, it's like, oh, what's going here? We go there and we listen to presentations and then we talk a little bit and go. It's really different now. There's members right here in the audience that have been and are members of that neighborhood council, and they can attest to this. We're talking. We are discussing. Sometimes we're not as civil as we should be, but we've worked our way around a lot of that, and ideas, issues are coming from different neighborhoods to the community forum and then to the city council, and it's been working. The Glen Eagle sewer issue that John, I'm sure, will mention, that's a good example of how the community forum neighborhood council system works. Another one just recently, the Farview's Patty Canyon neighborhood council. They actually got the city council to initiate a zoning change in their neighborhood through their community forum, or excuse me, through their neighborhood council, to the community forum, to the city council. I may not agree with exactly the way that thing was written, but I voted on the community forum to say, yes, bring that to the city council. And the city council took it and they acted on it. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for all of us. My recommendation to anyone in this room who isn't active in your neighborhood council is to get active, because I think they're going to have a stronger voice here, especially with me sitting on the city council. Thank you.
Mr. Couch, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
How do you see neighborhood councils working together with the city council to provide the best governance of the city?
Well, as John said, okay, I've been active in representing Grand Creek on the forum for the last 2 years and a member of the leadership team, as John is also. And like you said, when I first got on, I didn't see the forum doing anything. Over the last couple of years, it has evolved. As John said, the first big issue I think was ever brought up was myself bringing the Glen Eagle sewer issue. This is something I've been active in and kept on top of in Grand Creek for the last 12 years. It was a 12-year battle between the city, developers, and finally I brought it forth up to the forum. We voted on it, and then, you know, Clayton Floyd, who is our city council representative on the forum, brought it forth to committee, and along with Don Nicholson, our Ward 2 representative, Clayton, and the committee, we were able to resolve this issue about 2 months ago. I believe the neighborhood forum is a good thing. People should get active in the neighborhood councils. It's like John mentioned, it is evolving, it is getting stronger. We are bringing, neighborhood representatives are bringing issues every month to the forum. We're discussing it, and we vote on it. And I think it's helping everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrickson. This is a sort of related question, but also very different. You've already made a mention of your positions on the Safeway site, St. Patrick's Safeway site, but I'd like this to be a little bit more general question. What do you feel is the appropriate role for neighborhood plans? Once they're adopted, how should the city approach those adopted neighborhood plans?
It's my understanding, neighborhood plan is exactly that. It's a plan, it's a guide, it's not an ordinance, and it's not a law. And I am all in favor of neighborhood plans, where the neighborhoods, or the residents of the neighborhood actively participate in it. Concerning this particular neighborhood plan, it is my understanding that it was 3 years in the making, which is a good thing, and I'm glad. But the participation, as far as making up the plan, was not widespread. In walking the ward, in Northside, Westside, a lot of people I've spoken to said, well, no one ever talked to me. No one ever consulted me. I had no input in it. Well, I know it was advertised, and but a lot of people are busy nowadays, so they don't attend these councils or scheduled meetings. I know Safeway did an informal survey of the surrounding neighborhoods, and everybody there was in favor of the Safeway St. Pat's expansion. So while a neighborhood plan was made, I think our survey has to be done. There's like 4,800 residents in Northside, Westside. I don't think a group of 30, 40, or 50 people should make the determining factor of what's going to affect the neighborhood.
I absolutely love talking about neighborhood plans and planning. I'm a strong advocate of planning and neighborhood plans. I do find it interesting, though, that sometimes this topic comes up about how many people are actually active in this thing. 3 years is a long time to work on something. That's a lot of meetings, and that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of opportunities. I mentioned this Farview's Patty Canyon thing just a little bit ago, that they brought forward their neighborhood council, and they asked the city council to enact zoning. City council enacted zoning. There's a lot of neighborhoods. There's a lot of homes and households in that neighborhood. A lot. And I think if you look at the record, that there was under 30 people at the neighborhood council meeting who voted on that zoning that drastically changes their neighborhood. Now, if someone down the road decides that, whoa, this zoning doesn't allow me to do this to my property or this to my house, what the heck's going on here? I didn't have any say in that. No, that's not true. Your democracy, our democracy is as strong as we are. You want a voice, you want to be heard, you show up, okay? We know that we have people that can't show up. We know that people that don't have a voice, and that's what's good about our democracy. We're all supposed to have a voice, but really, you got to show up. You got to be there. A lot of people worked on the neighborhood plan for the Northside, Westside. Like John said, 3 years. That's a long time. Now, what's going on with the special district rezoning as far as Broadway Scott goes is a very serious question. And it's not just this neighborhood that's looking at this question. It's not just this city. There's many cities in Montana that are looking at this question right now. If we've got a plan, okay, what does it mean? How do we use it? What does substantial compliance mean? We need to know that. We need to know how to use these plans. I think that's a really important question for everybody, and every forum that I've been to, every candidate has said, when they're talking about fixing something, they're saying planning. We got to have planning. That's right. How do we use it? There's some quotes that ring in my head that just stick and I can't get out. Just recently, a mayoral candidate that didn't make it through the primary said, neighborhoods should have a say, but they shouldn't have a veto. That's wrong. Okay? I'm not saying that the neighborhoods have a veto, but a neighborhood has to have a very strong voice in what's happening. And that plan is the voice of the neighborhood. Some other things that came about while the whole issue on the rezoning on Broadway was being talked about were quotes like, and these are from city council people, if I'd have known we'd have had to follow this plan, I'd have never voted for it. Yes, that's true. That's a quote. Here's another one. I know we're not following the plan, but I'm going to do it anyway. I was there. I heard those things. I can't get them out of my head. Those are wrong. Those are the wrong attitudes when it comes to what I refer to as grassroots, citizen-activated, citizen-initiated, democratically crafted plans. We need to follow those. We need to know what does substantial compliance mean and how do we use these plans. Otherwise, what are they? What good are they? How much money and time do we need to spend on these things? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Couch.
I'm sorry if I'm ranting.
No, we have about half an hour left. I'm going to ask one more question of the candidates. If you have a question you have written down, would you please hold it up so that Arlene can come and pick it up? And then we will have some time to answer your questions as well. This is your last chance, so if you have a question, write it down real quick and get it to Arlene before our candidates are finished with this last question. Mr. Couch, you get this one first. What do you think are the transportation challenges in Ward 2, and what ideas do you have for addressing them?
Well, we've already talked about the Broadway lane reconfiguration. That's a transportation challenge for us. You know, for those of us that live on this side of Broadway and want to get to the other side of Broadway, I can't think of any greater challenge that we have or have had. Hopefully we can work on lighting, signalization, everything that we can. I love the idea of the crossing that they're going to have, and I can't wait to see it actually on the ground in a more permanent sense, what they call a pelican crossing. And I can describe that in detail, but I won't right now. Very safe way for pedestrians and folks in wheelchairs, kids on little bikes to get across the road. Those types of transportation issues for peds, pedestrians, and bicycles are always with us. Traffic speeds, cut-throughs in the neighborhood. Phillips Street is amazing, how fast cars go up and down Phillips. That issue has been tried. We've tried to address that in the past, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. We've got some really, you know, I was at a meeting last night concerning the Champion Mill site, and they're talking about a lot of folks and a lot of housing and commercial and a lot of stuff going in over there, and a lot of cars going out on Russell Street and heading on that north-south arterial route there. So that's going to bring a lot of traffic into our neighborhood via that Broadway and Russell intersection. So I think we have a lot to address there. That's going to be a real serious issue. I know that our neighborhood association really got started again when it, besides the Lowell School issue, but it really got started again when they talked about connecting Russell to the freeway. Okay? I have a feeling that's going to come up again. So we need to really have a serious discussion as a community what that means to our neighborhood and whether or not we want that. That's going to be an issue I think that's going to come up not too soon here. Traffic speeds, all of that, I think, yeah, that's what we're really dealing with as far as the transportation goes. I mentioned too, Broadway and Russell Street right there, and I think that's something that I think we're going to have a challenge, no doubt.
Mr. Hendrickson, what do you think are the transportation challenges in Ward 2, and what ideas do you have for addressing them?
Aside from the Broadway problem, in the rest of the ward, we have Mullen and Reserve Street, the worst intersection in the state. We have River Road, people south of the river having a hard time accessing either Russell and Reserve Street at peak times. People along Flynn Lane, Mullen Road, having a hard time, accessing Reserve Street or getting down Mullen. Backups. Reserve Street from 1:30, 2 o'clock on gets backed up from Mullen all the way, past Costco at times. Grand Creek Valley, I-90 interchange. I can wait a light there longer than I used to wait at Malfunction Junction. There's transportation problems all over the ward, which affects everybody in the city. Some simple solutions might be getting the lights along Reserve Street synchronized. Maybe that would help the flow of traffic, but so far that's fallen upon deaf ears. Getting to the Broadway issue. There's a project afoot to improve Russell Street. When it's approved, once it's completed, the projections are it's going to increase traffic on Russell Street 50%. That's about 8,000 to 10,000 cars. Half of them are going to go probably east, for argument's sake, and half are going to go west. Where are those cars going to go? It's there again. You have people on the River Road area, connectivity. They have no, in an emergency, if there was an emergency and a fatal accident on River Road, emergency services would have to take a roundabout way in order to get back onto River Road. These are this comes from lack of planning. We need, calming issues, lowering of the speed limit along Broadway from 35 to 25, for argument's sake, a light at River Road and Reserve Street. The problems are many, and there's no one in the current administration who's addressing these. The Mullen Reserve Street is not even on the planning stages right now. And that's something that's been plaguing the city for years. We need to move forward. The city council needs to move forward. And I would like to help do that.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll just take a couple of minutes. If you'd like a drink, there's a couple of glasses of water right there. And I'll take a quick look at the questions from the audience, and that's the next thing we'll do.
If you need help deciphering, let me know and I'll help you.
I can read them pretty good.
I'm just teasing you.
I deciphered my...
I have a hard time reading my writing. Well, isn't that the way it's supposed to be, though?
We're supposed to keep talking.
Yeah, well, okay, well, then,
My throat's dry.
oh, so's mine. Total away was 3 questions. It's only total away to 3 questions from the audience.
Yeah,
I'm
3
surprised.
questions. I got a couple more.
Oh, okay. No, I was surprised. No, just.
We'll keep you busy for a while.
I'm just surprised. That's all.
Well, maybe you can answer.
Could be too. So I guess I can go home and I was going to mail. I had the brochures and stuff like that to mail out tomorrow. But you don't need any more.
Nope,
so,
nope, I'll be just
okay,
fine.
if you do,
That's great.
just give me a call and I'll get it to you.
You got more?
I thought that, yes, I thought that these were probably could use some more discussion, but then I have 3 others, and perhaps
Okay.
this would be the one for the last one, right? I'm trying to think of the ones that have not been covered quite so thoroughly. This has been fairly well covered, but maybe there's more. But this, the broader Missoula pitch.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
gave it to him tonight.
Now, there's some others there, but they've been pretty much covered already, but I think
We're
that
probably going to have enough.
okay, yeah.
Okay, if you want to take your seats now, we'll go on with the questions.
It's like I told him, shoot my good side, but I probably don't have a good side, so.
Who did I end?
My cool side.
Okay. This question is going to go to Mr. Hendrickson first. Are you all ready?
Start it again, folks. Thanks.
This question goes to Mr. Henderson first. Without digressing into a NIMBY discussion, and I assume you know what that means, what can be done to make the footbridge and the area surrounding 316 feel safer to walk or bike through? And if you want to, you can add a little bit more about the safety issue in general in the neighborhood.
I'll be perfectly honest, I am not totally knowledgeable with that problem, but I am familiar with some of the concerns of the neighbors concerning the 316 mission.
Raise your voice.
Oh, sorry. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Police presence, beef patrols. But there again, our police department is shorthanded, and we do need more policemen on the beat. I think a dialogue between the mission and the neighborhood would be a good place to start. Have the neighborhood voice their concerns as to, what they see as their problems, and see if it can be addressed in an amicable, and cohesive way.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Couch, would you like me to repeat the question?
We're talking about safety issues, right? Go ahead and repeat it.
And particularly, without digressing into a NIMBY discussion, what can be done to make the footbridge and the area surrounding 316 feel safer to walk, bike through?
Right. Ongoing problem that we've had for a number of years here, and I've even experienced some of it myself. And I'm a 53-year-old guy, and I worry about crossing that bridge in the dark and seeing these folks in the corner there. What do they call it? Drinking the tall boys and things like that. Very worrisome. Very much a critical issue for this particular part of town right now. I went through the circles, the community circles, neighborhood circles, with a group in town. We got the 316 folks together. We got different neighborhood representatives, folks that wanted to be active in it, together in this room right here, and tried to discuss the issue. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't get very far, okay? I think this is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a hard thing for the neighborhood to deal with. Right now, I'm not convinced that expanding the 316, that putting a second floor on the Toole Street Market, that having living quarters there for folks, I'm not convinced that the folks that are running the 316 are up to that challenge. It was very difficult for me to get to that point, because I understand the need. I know the need. I see the need in our community, but I also feel that we're attracting it. I do not think, at least it hasn't been showed to me personally, that the folks that are running this mission are equipped to deal with the kinds of issues and illnesses that are there, okay? And that's hard. That's hard for me to say that, but right now that's the way I feel. And I think that we have to have a serious talk, not only with 316, but with the neighborhood to find out exactly what we're getting ourselves into here. Because as you know, we've got Lowell Park, we've had serious issues in Little McCormick Park. We have had excellent support by the police department here. They do a lot. They come by here enough. I know it doesn't seem like enough, but I've seen them do it. I've seen them come by here enough. They were gracious enough. I don't even know who did it. I'm assuming the city did, but as many of you know, there was a very serious problem on the bridge with human waste and trash and things like that, and they got that cleaned up pretty quick for us. So yeah, we have some real issues there with safety, and I think we need a very serious talk. I know that the 316 is probably going to be coming up for some asking for variances and building, and I think it's going to be tough, but we're going to have to deal with that head on to talk about those serious safety issues.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. Now, here's the next question. What are your thoughts on occupancy standards, and how would they affect the neighborhood if a family definition and occupancy standards were adopted by the council?
I guess they are going to come back, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Okay. No, the occupancy standards that were tried to pass here a while back, I was definitely not in agreement with. I believe that it was flat-out discrimination, okay? That's what I believed with those occupancy standards, the way they were written. I also believe that if those would have went down, if those would have become part of the law of the land here, that we would have found more and more people pushed over into our neighborhood from the neighborhoods that the occupancy standards really took effect in. I think we would have had an effect of crowding over here in the Northside, Westside, if those occupancy standards went down. But frankly, no, family definitions, occupancy standards, they've got to be written a lot better than what were proposed, because what they had proposed wasn't going to work, and I would not have voted for those.
Mr. Hendrickson, would you like me to repeat the question?
The occupancy standard ordinance question was brought about basically by three issues. You know, traffic, trash, and parking by traffic, and trash, and safety issues. You crowd 5, 6, 7 people into an apartment. Is it safe? You know, 5, 6, 7 people in a house. It's added parking on the street, and in some cases, the places aren't kept, and that's how this big issue was brought up. The ordinance is passed. I don't know how you're going to enforce it. Just like the leash law. How do you enforce an occupancy standard? I don't think you can. And who's going to be the moral police? So, but in essence, the way the last law is written, I would not have favored it.
Mr. Hendrickson, this is another question about transportation. Do you know what plans are underway for some kind of express way across Missoula? And do you have some ideas about how that might be done?
Well, Public Works will tell you it's probably not on their plans for the next 25 years, which will be entirely too late. I think now is the time to acquire the land. Part of this bypass, as it's called, has already been obtained in the Y. Mullen plan. The Elmer Frame Road would be the north end of this bypass. I think it's imperative that the city starts today in acquiring the land to finish hooking it up across the river and over onto Brooks. If we wait too much longer, all that's going to be developed and the land's going to be harder to get. With the bypass, it should be done so it's a non-commercial, so people who don't want to come down Reserve Street or into town can just bypass Missoula. We don't need another Reserve Street strip. But like I said, I know part of it will be done on the Y. Mullen plan and hooking up into Broadway.
Thank you. Mr. Couch, do you need the question repeated?
It didn't actually say western bypass, but I'm assuming that's what they were talking about.
We're talking
A
about
bypass.
some way to get
Some way
across
to-
the city without all the stoplights and stop
Right.
signs and traffic and et cetera.
Yeah, I'm not one to jump on board the western bypass idea right now, although I'm not going to say no, but I'm saying there's some serious issues there. We know, and many people have said this, that it's very difficult to try to build your way out of this congestion that we have right now. That western bypass, it sounds great, but there's a lot of floodplain, there's a lot of wetlands out there. I'm not quite sure where they're going to put it. I also have a problem with buying up this land, condemning land, taking more private property for a bypass that I'm not 100% sure is going to work for us here. We have serious transportation issues confronting us now, congestion, air quality, and frankly, you know, you build it and they'll come, all right? Can we really stop commercial development along that bypass? I don't know. Can we really build over all those wetlands? I'm not sure. Is that really going to suffice? Is that where we should be putting all our money? Is it more concrete? I don't know. That's going to be something, you know, it took us, how many years, Clayton, to study the 3rd and Russell Street reconstruction project? And the EIS is still going? Lots of money, lots of time. You're right. You want to start buying up land for that now? How do we know it's even going to work? I'm not sure. I, for one, am ready to put my effort into other areas in transportation. Okay, folks, I'm a very strong advocate of TDM, Transportation Demand Management. I think we need to put a lot more effort into that, all right? When I looked at that plan that was going around the room last night for the Champion Mill site, I was very excited because what they're talking about is a very strong connection to our trail system right now. If you guys haven't seen these plans, you need to get it busy on that and look at it because it's really something that is exciting. A lot of the people that are going to be living in that area on the Champion Mill site are going to have excellent opportunities to jump on trail systems, to get in the bus system, to get to other places close by in town without having to use their automobile. I'm not anti-automobile, okay? Don't paint me wrong on that one. The fact is, I don't advocate in making it harder for people to drive their cars. I really want to work on ideas that make it easier for people not to. Okay, there's a difference there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. Now, this question may take a minute of thought, but here we go. Mr. Couch, as a city councilman, what could you do to preserve the character of our neighborhood? Now, this says our neighborhood, and I'm not sure which neighborhood they mean, so I would say, what could you do to preserve the character of the individual neighborhoods in Ward 2?
Grant Creek, I think you folks are pretty well taken care of up there. I don't see much changing, really. You're pretty much covered. You know, you're not going to get too much there. Now, Northside, Westside, I mean, that's the best thing we got going is our character, I think. And I'm talking about the characters and the character that we have here. That's why Denise and I moved into this neighborhood, is because of the characters and the character of the neighborhood. And preserving it, you know, we've got to put more faith in our planning and our neighborhood plan, because our plan speaks right to that. Those of you who haven't read our plan, I'll loan you my copy. You can go over to the NMC or the library or the Office of Planning and Grants and get one and look at it. But it talks specifically, excellent ideas, it pinpoints areas, activity centers, it has ideas, it has very detailed design ideas about how we keep the neighborhood looking and feeling and working and growing, because we can't just stop growing, we have to grow, but how we can grow and still keep that same character and characters in the neighborhood. Really, the plan is what counts.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. Mr. Henderson?
One way of starting to preserve the neighborhood is to stop the infill on non-conforming lots. That's taken place a lot on the north side, west side. The BLR, the boundary line readjustments, has plagued not only Ward 2, north side, west side, but other areas of Missoula. And believe it or not, it could affect even Grand Creek. You know, I said earlier, you know, when people move into a neighborhood, they have an expectation that that neighborhood will remain so. If it's a single-family residential area, they don't want to see a fourplex or an eightplex go in next door or across the street. And that's what you have happening with investors and developers coming in, buying up, lots and houses on the north side, west side, either scraping them or building an alley house. Hopefully that'll come to a close. If a house is going to be built on lots, I think it should be conform with the neighborhood. If the neighborhood is one-story or two-story, the house should be built accordingly and conform with the architecture of it. And, you know, and this holds true, let's say, in north side, west side. It's taken place, you know, in the University District. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I'll leave it there.
All right, this is the last question, I think. Mr. Henderson, apart from your stance on any particular issue, how would you distinguish yourself from your opponent? Why should people vote for you?
I was going to say something cute, but
Better not.
Excuse me. Well, I've been involved in business a long time, ran a few different departments, had many people under me. Like I said earlier, I'm a listener. I like data. When I tackle a problem or I like to have facts in front of me. I'm willing to listen to all sides of an issue before making up my mind. I am not coming into this election with a preconceived agenda. I have no special interest ties to any one group. I say I've been in the ward for 15 years. I want to see the city move forward, and I think we can do that. I want to rein in the tax and spend attitude of what the city's in now. I want to bring accountability back. I don't believe there's any accountability, and I'm not afraid to tackle these issues. There are tough issues confronting Missoula here in the next year and so on, 2 years. A lot of them happen to be fiscal. We have the aquatics bond issue. It's probably going to come back up. You know, we have our bonding capacity, which is almost gone. We have the fire issue bond passes, and I hope it does because it concerns public health and safety. We're going to have $12 million left bondable capacity. Now, there's people out there who want to float another open space issue. Well, if we do $5 million, at least it's $7 million. There's only $4.5 million falling off in the next 8 years. $7 million is not enough. $12 million is not enough. We have tough issues ahead, and I'm willing to tackle them.
Thank you. Mr. Couch, apart from your stance on any particular issue, how would you distinguish yourself from your opponent?
Distinguishing myself from John Hendrickson, I would say, and I've heard John say this before. You know, he was asked to run on city council or run for city council, and he decided he would. I in turn have long thought of this. I mean, this is something. It's a logical step for me. as active as I've been in the community, in the neighborhood, in the ward, I see this, and I mentioned the Neighborhood Council and Community Forum, excellent step forward right to City Council. And in fact, there's members in this room right now that went that same way. Okay, it's a logical step. It's good for me, and I see that. My willingness to run, my desire to be in this position, I think, is a lot different than what Mr. Hendrickson has put forward. I think that what I'm going to willing to bring to the City Council is going to be something of a very deep appreciation for my community, for my ward members, and for my neighbors, and a very strong urge to serve, okay? That's really where I'm coming from. That's why I want to do this. And I'm in a position to do it. And I believe I have the ability to do it too, and to do it fair, and to be a very strong advocate for this ward. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Couch, Mr. Hendrickson. Thanks for sharing the hot seat up here for the last hour. I know you didn't all get your questions answered. I hope you'll have another opportunity to pigeonhole one of these gentlemen or both and get your question answered to your satisfaction. And I do want to go back real quickly to something Mr. Couch said. If you don't get your voice out there, it isn't going to be heard. So when the election comes up, and I think it's the 8th of November, first Tuesday in November, get yourselves down there and put your marks on the paper. Thanks for coming. I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Meredith, and there's a little bit more business to follow.